This one isn't personal, and that is exactly what makes it worse. Nobody refused you. Pay is frozen. The review cycle has been paused, which is a strange word for it, because pausing implies somebody intends to press play. There's a hiring freeze on top of it, so the two people who left in the spring haven't been replaced, and their work arrived on your desk so gradually that there was never a day you could have objected to it. And every few weeks, somebody senior says the sentence. A challenging year. Tough for everybody. We're all in this together. And the maddening part is that it's not even a lie. So there's nobody to argue with. There isn't a room to be in. Whatever you had worked yourself up to say has nowhere to be said. Here's what almost everyone does with a frozen year, and why all three versions hand the year to somebody else. Then I'll tell you what a man did with 8 years he could not shorten. 3 doors. The first is to wait it out, and it is the sensible one, and that's the problem. It is so obviously reasonable that you never examine it. Here's what's wrong with waiting. A freeze does not announce its own end. Nobody will come and find you and tell you it's over. Which means that waiting, as a plan, has no exit condition in it at all. And a plan with no exit condition doesn't feel like a decision. It feels like weather. From the inside, 1 year of it looks precisely like 3 years of it. You will find out the freeze ended when somebody else gets something. The second door is the assumption underneath the first one, and it's the expensive one. It's the belief that when this lifts, the correction is automatic, that they know you've been patient, that there'll be a catch-up, that the system has a memory. It doesn't. Frozen pay does not catch up. It rebases. Whatever number you are on when the thaw comes is the number the percentage gets applied to. So the gap you walked into the freeze with is the gap you walk out with, and then it compounds quietly every year after that on a base that was set by a bad 18 months. Nobody's going to go back and correct. And nobody is dishonest in this story. It's just that the correction you're waiting for isn't in anybody's job description. The third door is to leave in a hurry. And leaving during a freeze is sometimes right. But understand what the market looks like from inside one. Everyone else is frozen too. So the roles that are open are a much narrower selection than usual. And the company hiring aggressively in a bad year is either genuinely excellent or in some kind of trouble. You'll have about 90 minutes of interview to work out which, and you'll be doing it while flattered. Here's the thread. All three hand the year to something you don't control. Their budget, their memory, or whoever happens to be hiring in a bad quarter. In the year 41, Seneca was sent to Corsica. The charge was adultery with the emperor's niece. Almost nobody, then or since, has thought the charge was the reason. It was the instrument. He was relegated to an island, and he was there for 8 years. Now think about the position he was in, because it is structurally the one you're in, and the scale is the only difference. He could not end it. There was no process to appeal to. The decision had been taken elsewhere by a person he could not reach for reasons that had nothing to do with the quality of his work. Everything about his situation was frozen by somebody else, and no amount of being right was going to move it. One of the things that survives from those 8 years is a letter he wrote to his mother. And the thing to notice is the direction of it. He is consoling her for his exile. He spends it working out, carefully, how much of what he has lost was ever actually his to begin with. He did not shorten the exile by a single day. He decided what the exile would produce. And this is where I want to be precise, because there's a version of Stoicism that gets quoted at people in exactly this situation, and it is the wrong half. Epictetus has a line about a banquet. Something comes round to you, Take a reasonable share. It passes you by. Don't grab at it. It hasn't reached you yet. Don't stretch your desire out toward it. Wait until it arrives. That is very good advice, and it is advice about wanting. It is a rule for your desire, so that a frozen year doesn't spend 12 months eating you from the inside. It is not a rule about your conduct. Epictetus never in his life told anybody to sit still and be pleasant about it. He is the most relentless of all of them about the things that are yours to do. So, don't strain after the number. It genuinely isn't coming this year, and wanting it harder has never once worked, and then get extremely busy on your own side of the line. So 3 moves. Move 1, and this is the one that pays this week. Sort the frozen from the unfrozen. Say it out loud, because until you say it, you'll keep treating the whole year as one solid object. Pay is frozen. Fine. Now, is the title frozen? Titles are free. They come out of nobody's budget. A promotion in name only is worth surprisingly little to you this year, and an enormous amount in 2 years' time when somebody outside the building reads it. Is the scope frozen? Is the project? Is who you report to? Is the training budget, the conference, the certification, the day a week you work differently, the piece of work you've wanted to own since last summer? None of those come out of the same pot as salary. And here's the part nobody says out loud. In a freeze, your manager is unusually desperate to give you something. They have a team to hold together and nothing in their hands. You are the easiest problem they will solve all quarter, provided you arrive with something specific that costs nothing. Most people arrive with a grievance which costs them nothing to receive and gives them nothing to do. Move 2. Make the year produce something that leaves the building with you. The salary line is fixed. What you're worth when it unfreezes is not fixed at all, and it is the only variable you still have your hands on. So pick 3 things. 1 capability you didn't have in January, 1 relationship outside your own team, and 1 piece of work with your name visibly on it. Not a transformation. Marcus, who was having a considerably worse year than you are, and wrote this to himself in a war, put it like this: do not expect Plato's Republic. Be content if the smallest thing goes well, and don't treat that as a small matter. Move 3. Set your own date and make it a decision rather than a threat. Pick a month. March, September, whatever fits the cycle you're actually in. Write down now, while you're calm, what has to be true by then. And write down what you do if it isn't. Not as leverage. Nobody else ever needs to know this date exists. The reason to do it is that it ends the Sunday nights. Right now, you are redeciding this every single week, and redeciding is far more exhausting than deciding. Once the month is written down, you're allowed to stop. So here's the rule. Write it down. If the number's frozen, move something that isn't. Because here's what a freeze actually costs you, and it is not the raise. 2 years of nothing being available trains a very specific habit. You stop asking. Not dramatically, you just gradually stop forming the sentences because asking has stopped producing anything and you're not stupid. And that habit does not lift when the freeze does. Watch what happens in the first quarter after a thaw. The people who get looked after are the ones who never stopped asking, and they are not braver than you, and they were not treated better. They simply didn't spend 2 years practicing not asking, so when the money reappeared, the sentence was still in working order. That's the thing to protect, not the salary. The salary is gone this year. It was gone before you heard about it. The habit. So this week, 3 things. 1. Write the list of what is not frozen and pick 1 thing off it. 2. Ask for it. Named specific, out loud, this month, while your manager still has nothing else to give anybody. 3. Put your own month in your own calendar with the condition written next to it, and then stop relitigating it on Sundays. You cannot set the number this year. Seneca could not shorten 8 years on an island by being right about the charge. What you always control is what exists at the end of the period that didn't exist at the start of it. Master that, and a frozen year stops being a year that was taken off you and becomes the cheapest year you will ever get to build something in. If this helped, like it and subscribe. There's a new one every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And do one more thing. Send this to the person who has said maybe next year about the same thing 2 years running. You know exactly who they are. They'll laugh it off, and then they'll quietly count how many years it has actually been. The calm reply is in the description if you want the words for the asking part. 30 conversations at work, written out. And watch this one next. They offered you more to stay, and the one thing to check before you say yes.